Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's I Love Learning podcast. And if you notice, me and Ellie have the same exact outfit almost, not the same exact, but we didn't plan that because but one thing I'm really, really excited about having her today is that she is an executive coach. And before she goes and introduces herself and shares her passion, I wanted to share something that she wrote this week, and it really just underlines the reason, one of the reasons why I have her on today to share her passion. She wrote, "Trust is important in teams. Without it, folks won't be able to respond effectively to risks and challenges by coming up with creative solutions. Providing moments where people can share their humanity will help them do the work at hand with a common understanding, goal, and mutual support. In other words, you build trust." And even this morning, my team leader, one of our team leaders, and I had a conversation about how imperative it is that companies build trust. In any case, thank you for coming on my podcast today. Definitely introduce yourself and tell everybody what you're passionate about.
Yeah, thanks, Gina. Thanks for having me. Really looking forward to this conversation. My name is Ellia Harris, and I'm Chief Innovation Coach at the Potential Center. What I do is I work with leaders and sometimes teams to help them get their teams working more collaboratively using creative problem solving as a tool. And I'm really passionate about this because through my own leadership development, when I was in the nonprofit sector, I had a number of leadership roles, and any leadership training that I did, I found that something was missing. And I discovered over time it's that ability to think outside the box.
Mm.
So that tied in really nicely with developing other people like me, people new or fairly new in management roles, or people who didn't have training and they're kind of struggling. But also, it helped with achieving some goals in terms of philanthropy. As I
Mm.
mentioned, I worked in the nonprofit sector for quite a long time. So I was able to help people um, improve their circumstances, improve their health
Mm.
through helping to find different ways of solving problems. And also, the other area that I'm passionate about is helping young people develop these skills because they are our future leaders and citizens. And oh my goodness, we really have to support them as they develop their critical thinking and their creative problem solving skills.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I definitely think, thank you so much for saying that because I really feel like so many, no matter what your age, can really benefit from thinking about the problem in front of you, how you can solve that to make a better life for yourself and in fact improve your mental health. One thing I was thinking about, I mean, I talked to you quite a bit and you're really passionate about this. Is there have you can you think of a time maybe in your own life and in your own career where there was something that maybe stood in your way of your passion and kind of how you use this framework that you've developed of light bulb thinking to kind of overcome that or to lead you where you are today? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. It's not a direct answer. It's kind of a roundabout sort of answer.
Mhm.
The reason I moved into the nonprofit sector was because I was looking at what was going on in the world around me, and I wanted to be able to make a bigger difference. And I thought that by working in the nonprofit sector, I could do that. And that's where I was, moving up the ladder into these senior roles. And I had the good fortune, and I say good fortune because it was, of being let go from one of those roles.
Mm,
Now, at the time, I was devastated, of course, as
absolutely.
you would be. Um, but for me, it was an opportunity. I knew that I wanted to become a trainer. I'd done a degree in secondary education, but I never taught. And so training for me was this way of kind of coming full circle from that training. So it was the opportunity for me to say, okay, how can I take what I've learned to help other people? And that was like the very embryonic start of light bulb thinking, the framework that I
Mm.
use for creative problem solving. So it's kind of a roundabout way of answering your question. How to turn a negative into a positive, I guess, is really what it's about.
No, I think a lot of people can really, really relate to that. The industry that I'm in many industries are experiencing really high volume of layoff, and that's a devastating experience to go through to lose your job or to really be shocked into something that you thought was going to go one way and it went another way. So can you tell folks like really how you overcame that? Like there had to be how did you overcome that impossible thinking of devastation of losing your position to now? I mean, gosh, you're coaching all over the globe of these coaching skills. Like how did you get there? Can you remember? Is there a defining moment?
Um, I'm one of those people that I, I don't have a very good memory for defining moments in the past because I live so much in the
Mhm.
present.
Oh,
But I can tell you that I think for me, I'm a very positive facing person, and I have this kind of no fear attitude. It's not to say that, I just jump in and do anything. I do research and I weigh up the pros and the cons, but I don't let fear of the unknown stop me.
mm,
So I think what I would have done at that time was think about what are my goals? What do I really want to be doing? And in that case, and it still is the coaching and the training. And how do I work backwards from that so that I can plan my most immediate strategy, the strategy for the next year, for the 2 years? What are the things that I need to accomplish? And within that was what skills do I need to develop? What learning do I need to do for myself? And that's what really helped me, launch my career in this new avenue a bit more quickly.
I like that a lot. One thing that you and I have discussed and we discussed just before this call is, if you were in a situation where you didn't go through traditional education, people say to me, "Well, Gina, you have a doctorate. I mean, you have you've gone to so much education. You can't relate to me because I don't learn in traditional ways. I really came through a non-traditional education and I really don't see how learning could benefit me. You've lost your position, you're going through a hard time. What are your thoughts on that? I mean, your perspective on kind of this idea of somebody that may not see themselves in the traditional trajectory of education grabbing onto learning.
Yeah. It's a really good point, and it's an important one. Also, for the reason that the environment and the need for learning is changing. I don't know that young people coming up today have the same respect for secondary education that people did 20, 30 years ago because of the way circumstances have changed, the way our world has changed. But coming back to your initial question, I think that what I see is, self-doubt about people or, um, that, they don't feel worthy of certain things, and I think that sometimes people don't feel worthy of being a learner because they didn't finish high school or they don't have a college degree. Why should I invest in learning for myself because I'm not good learning material? And that's a whole bunch of rubbish nowadays because any learning company program worth their salt, and definitely, Gina, yours is one of them, puts learning together in such a way that it's beneficial for the learner. We've all been through trainings, through courses where you can just hear the designer of the course saying, "Oh, what bells and whistles can I put in here? What's
Right.
available from this platform that I can make it look really flashy?" But they don't stop to take the time to think, how are people learning? And we all learn in different ways.
Absolutely. What do you think? What does authentic learning look like to you? This is a question that I ask a lot of folks. I ask a lot of drivers, ask a lot of adults. What does it look like to you if you were to describe what that authentic learning looked like?
Yeah. Pardon me. There's 2 parts for me. One was the one I just mentioned. Was the
Mm,
learning designed for the learner or for the designer? And the other part for
mm,
me is, pardon me, is this learning that's actually going to have an impact in my life in some way? Is it going to help advance my career? Or is it simply something that I'm interested in or passionate about? And do I just enjoy learning? Do I just want to learn
yeah.
about this one thing that nobody else knows about, and feel proud that I've taken on this new knowledge? So I think authentic learning is about being true to ourselves. Are we
Mm,
spending time learning what is going to feed us in one way or another?
mm. I really can appreciate that. A couple days ago, I posted an article that was in the Atlantic Times that really cited a study from Harvard research that is showing that since the cell phones came out, you can see a significant drop in people going out and doing things in person. And really, we're at a time in a decade in our lives, it's never been like before when you talk about authenticity. People are preferring to be alone. And so I really think that this idea of authenticity really becomes critical because if we're going to be alone, we have to build authentic connections so that we can make a difference. And in terms of that, I think about something like that really left a huge impact on my thinking on how we can communicate with each other and build these connections. Has there been something for you specifically that you feel like has really left your an impact on your thinking, and what really drives your passion? Can you kind of think about something like that?
Oddly enough, the pandemic, I
Mm,
think, coming from a similar place to you, that we were all of a sudden thrown into this environment of having to be on our own, having to be alone, except with our families if we were lucky. Um, and what I noticed during the next couple of years was this incredible craving for connection. And,
mm,
forget about authentic connection. People just wanted to connect. So,
mhm,
I think that one of the things that I'm very conscious of when I work with managers is, if you're managing a hybrid team or a 100% remote team, how do you get people connecting? How do you connect to your own people? And it's
mhm,
through communication. It's
mhm,
through developing trust with one another. Really, we won't open up to each other until we feel that we can trust that the other person, the other people, aren't going to besmirch our names in some way. So that's really a big issue for me. That's why I wrote about trust.
Ah, that was a great article, and I'm going to actually share that
Thank you.
with the repost of this discussion today because trust is critical. And like you said, with remote teams, our team at Luma is completely remote, and I feel like our team is really close, and we do have open communication on our communication channels. But it is a struggle to think about how you continue to be happy when you are in this environment where you are still alone. I mean, even though the world has opened up, the research is showing that people are preferring to stay kind of self-contained. So what engages you? What do you do daily? You're such a positive
Mhm.
person. I mean, you're such a great role model. What do you do daily to keep happy and really keep this energy to continue to grow and learn?
One thing is, I'm grateful for what I have and for what I don't have. And for another, I build laughter into my day. It's
I
so
love
it's
that.
so important to laugh because, laughter reduces tension. It that you get the dopamine going in the brain, that feel good
Mhm.
enzyme, and it just reduces barriers between people. So, for completely remote teams like yours, you might want to build in your meetings an exercise at the very front of the meeting that is just a stupid exercise. It just gets
Mhm,
people feeling silly and getting them laughing.
mhm.
And then I think that helps to bring a more positive outlook to the rest of the meeting, even though, it may be more serious material.
Yeah, I actually experienced that 2 days ago with a group, from J Trucking. We were sitting at their table, and Jameson and James, the whole table, I mean, they were just we just I sat there for a moment, and we were just in awe in laughter. I mean, we just had such an awesome time just being together and laughing about all sorts of things. But I realized in that moment, and I even thanked them. I mean, thank you for the laughter. I mean, because it does absolutely make you feel better, and it makes everybody feel good, and it has to be authentic, right? So I appreciate that. I love that you suggested that. That is so good. I'm not that funny of a person, so definitely I won't be making too many jokes, but I do think that this having a good time together does leave an impact.
Yeah,
Um,
and it's not about making jokes, it's
yeah,
which you can do, but it's more
that's good.
about
That's good. Yeah.
yeah, it's more about, seeing, the kind of funny side of things together. It's a bit like what a stand-up comedian does, all they do is talk about, what they're experiencing, and they put it in a frame that's amusing. And so if you can get a team doing that together, it doesn't take a lot because everybody builds off of what everybody else is saying. It really is that easy to be rolling in the aisles.
Yeah, absolutely. I often, the reason why I started my podcast is because number one, I really wanted to connect with people, but I also had individuals coming to me asking me, specifically drivers, they're alone. A lot of them are alone on the road, and really, what can they do to help reignite their passion? And so, if somebody came to you, one of the clients or somebody you're working with, or someone that just came up to you on the road and said to you that they've lost their passion, they didn't really know like how they were going to go forward. Maybe they don't feel the laughter anymore. Like they
Mm.
go to meetings and they're just not. Everyone's laughing and they're sitting there and they're just like they're not there. They're not at the same table, and they've lost their passion for learning in life. And what advice would you give that person today? What could you offer them to help them move forward?
Yeah, it comes back with something I said a little while ago about, thinking about what your goals are for the future or what you want your legacy to be. And
Mm.
in a previous career, I was a professional organizer, and this was
Oh.
one of the tools that I used with people was to because if they don't know what their goals are, how can they possibly purge their papers? They don't know what to keep and what to get rid of. So early on, working with clients, I worked on something called a goals pyramid, and at the very top is what is that ultimate goal that you have, or what do you want your legacy to be, or what do you want you to
Mm.
be known for, and then you work backwards, and you may find that you're in actually in the wrong job, and that's why you feel so down in the mouth.
Mm.
And it might provide the incentive to find a different type of job. Now, I'm not saying that that's going to be the answer for everybody, but I think by being authentic to yourself and figuring out what's important to you might give you a different frame. Even if you do stay in the current job that you have, I suspect you'll feel more positive. And I'm not a mental health expert, so, take what I
Yeah.
say with a grain of thought.
Mhm.
But I think it does give a different light to things when you see what the purpose is of what you're doing.
Absolutely. One of my friends, who I've connected with, who was on my podcast several weeks ago, Timothy Gleason. He actually lives in Australia. He's a surfer. He did an activity that's similar to what you're suggesting, and he actually created an opportunity for himself to write a chapter in a book. And so, one of the things that you could do if you want to set your goal or understand what your legacy is write a letter to the future person. Maybe it's your son or daughter, Maybe it's a friend, maybe it's your dog. I mean, write a letter and tell that animal, tell that person, tell whoever is really meaningful to you, or maybe it's your future self, what you want to leave for your legacy, a note for the future. What messages do you want to send? What are your goals? And that really helps you unlock or uncover really what your goal is. Because sometimes you just don't know, like you don't even know what your goal could be, but that could be one strategy you use to unlock it for yourself. So I love
Yeah,
that
I love
idea.
yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, is there anything today, Ellie, that you would like to share and leave a lasting message to our audience for anybody that's listening here today?
I think that the message that I would like to leave behind, my legacy, if you will, is that there are problems all around us. We all have small problems or bigger problems in our lives. There are complex issues that we need to deal with as a global society. And I believe that anyone can have an impact on that. So, whether it's through learning, whether it's through finding a way of doing things, there are creative ways of solving problems. Take the time to learn about creative problem solving. And if you think that you can't make a difference, there's a quote that I use a lot from Anon, and it goes like this: if you think you're too small to make a difference, try sleeping in a room with a mosquito.
Ah, I like that quote. I've never heard that quote. Thank you for that. If people want to connect with you, I'm going to share your LinkedIn. Where else or what else can they do to connect with you?
Absolutely, thanks. Thepotentialcenter.com is the website, and there's a contact form on there. There's also a free download of a book called The Brainstorming Playbook. So, if any of your listeners, viewers run brainstorming sessions, that's a great resource to have.
Awesome. Thank you so much for coming on my I Love
Oh,
Learning
my
podcast
pleasure.
today. It was such a pleasure having you.
Thank you.